Hey man, how are you?
Brother, how you doing?
There he is. Where are you?
I'm in Medellin, Colombia. Where are
You're in
you?
Colombia, my man. I am in coastal Maryland today.
All right.
I split my time between Maryland and Lebanon, although I'm a bit of a heavy traveler,
Cool.
quite a bit. But I'm aware that you spend time in Colombia. Are you actually living down there? Or are you down there because of the retreat that you used to do, and are you still doing it?
So, yeah, so the retreat has turned into a wellness medical resort, and
Yeah.
I've been living here part-time since 2015. Last year, 2024, I was here probably 80% of the time. So right
Nice.
now, I have four kids and eight grandkids in the San Francisco
Woo.
Bay Area. Other, Otherwise, I would never go home. I would just stay here. Let me turn off my wife.
Brother, I totally get it. I totally get it. When you find a place that resonates with you, you do want to stick. I have that same issue. Part of the reason why I split my time is because I'm still raising my 12-year-old. But
Yeah, you have no
once
choice.
he's up and out of high school and on his way to college or whatever he chooses to do, my
Yeah.
time in the US will be related to just visiting parents and the kids from time to time, just like you.
The poor US is going, I'm afraid to say. It's
There's
pretty sad.
it's a lot of stuff going on. But you know what? In the, let's say, in the conscious creator space that I can't wait to talk to you about, you start to realize, at least in my journey, I'm born in New York, raised in Boston, in DC area by way of University of Virginia. I'm 49 years old now, 6 months until I hit 50. I've learned what I needed to learn on the East Coast of the US. I've created what I needed to create. We cannot, and I'll tell you a little bit about the podcast and the community, but we cannot just sit on our
Okay.
laurels and fester and not expand as humans anymore, even though we have these desires that we want to get out of us, right? We got to control our environment, or be in an environment which pushes you to create something.
Amen.
Fair
Amen.
enough?
And that's what we do here.
Yeah.
So this is why I talk a lot about environment. So the
Yeah.
environment makes you sick. What's your environment? It's what you eat, think and do, right?
Hmm.
That's your
Hmm.
environment. And most people, their environment got them sick, whether it's through the bad food, the alcohol, the not exercising, gambling, whatever, or just not taking care of their because it's so toxic in America. The water's toxic, the air is toxic. They don't use real
Yes.
food. Impossible not have toxicity. Toxicity weakens the immune system, and then cancer and other things can take over. So what we've created here is an unbelievable healing environment. We believe that if you're going to heal, it's up to you and your creator. What we're
That's
going to
it.
give you is the environment and a million protocols and modalities to get you there, but the
Yeah.
work has to come from you. And so that's it's so cool that you talk about environment and understand all that.
Yeah, man. So let me give you, I'm going to tee you up. I know your story. I've done a lot of research into you. And I think that source, God, creator, universe, whatever you want to call it, energy, I don't care what people call it at all. But
Yeah.
I think we are probably attracted to each other at this point because, and I will tell you how I came about the subject of conscious creation, power of the subconscious mind, etc. But let me tee up the Try Life On community, okay? So my journey
Perfect.
has been Haitian immigrant kid, New York, Boston, DC, as I told you. I graduated University of Virginia, mechanical engineer. While I was there, I was playing varsity football, was also an Air Force ROTC. It manifested itself in a unreal journey that I now understand to be creation, but it's just that from in a human sense, I was persistent because I did not want the
Right.
status quo life at all. So I did 25 years as a senior executive at a global consulting firm, 22 years in the military as retiring as a lieutenant colonel and federal agent, 15 years as a street cop, and
Wow.
I did it all at the same time while investing in real
Wow.
estate, while traveling to 100 countries, while opening a bunch of restaurants and clubs and failing coffee shops and et cetera, et cetera. I've just had this very systematically patient financial time, location, freedom journey. And I just never told any about it while I was doing it for the core 17 to 20 years of it. I didn't care. I just wanted to, as you and I talked about, expand. So fast forward to
Wow.
2021, 2020, I started talking about it a little bit on social media, what I had created, because I could see the writing on the wall that I was getting ready to leave all these employments to go do my own thing. And people started reaching out to me to coach, to ask to be coached on lifestyle design. How did you do that? How does someone have three careers at the same time while being an entrepreneur, while being a dad, while raising an autistic kid, while traveling to 100 countries? And I said back to people, what are you talking about? Because for me, it was a very normal thing. Try Life On was
Right.
born. And what the Try Life On podcast community, coaching, mastermind, and even media projects that are coming out, what it's all related to is that we can try life on at any time. In the words of Mike Murphy, we can create whatever desire it is that we want at any time. We just have to not always succumb to other people's versions of success. That success is, hey, climbing the corporate ladder to get that particular title. If it doesn't even mean anything to you, we are defaulting, when I have espoused to people that you can try life on at any time, created a framework by which people can achieve five freedoms: time, financial, location, purpose, relationships. I did all
Yeah.
that. Now I'll lead to you. I did all that in the physical sense of life, okay? Because I had figured something out. Last year, 2 years ago, I had my own moment similar to when your amazing wife passed away in 2011. I've done my research. I had a moment. It was a particular relationship that kind of failed, and for once, Maurice could not build anything or go somewhere or do something to solve the problem, so it forced me to go in. It's the first time I've ever done it. I happened to run across the book Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy, Dr. Joseph Murphy.
My favorite book of all time.
Man, you and I are going to kick it, brother. And it changed me. So now I understand that all the journey that I expressed to you was nothing more than unconscious creation by somebody who was determined to have my version of success. In actuality, it was just
Yeah.
creation, because imagination is the most powerful thing, as you know. And all the people who listen to the Try Life On podcast, or the people I coach one-on-one, are wanting to try life on. Some people are not ready to hear about conscious creation, but they are okay hearing about a
Right.
framework by which life can be designed, which in fact is really
Yeah.
just creation, right? So that's
That's
what
it.
brings me to you, my friend. And when I started to read your story and understand, I was like, oof, I think it's time for my audience to kind of hear about conscious creation, because I don't really talk about it, but
You
you
just
have.
do it. You just do it, right?
I just do
So
it. That's it. Yeah.
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 And
So
that's where I am in my life right now. When I first started this back in 1982,
yeah.
I had to follow the simple directions, right? Which can be difficult enough. But now I've been doing so long, I just speak it into existence,
Yeah.
because sound is super powerful, you know.
It really is. So tell me a bit about yourself now that you understand the audience and the framework, and
Yeah.
just give a sense
Well,
of
I
who
mean,
Mike Murphy is.
yeah, I mean, it sounds to me for your audience is very ripe for my book, The Creation Frequency, and the way that I use the law of attraction and manifestation, which is unique to every other teacher in this space, the
Mm-hmm.
way we do it. And it's super powerful. It's worked since 1982 for me. When I'm fully engaged in it and not distracted by some bad habit or some bullshit that I'm chasing over.
Yeah.
Right? We, we
We're
we all have we all have programming that we have to undo.
That's
Okay.
right.
And
That's right.
mine was very, 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 very deep, so I had a lot of unraveling to do, and I still do, frankly. I mean, I don't think we're done till we're done, till we take
No.
that last breath. We're
Yep.
still evolving and growing. Right? So I think my creation frequency for your audience is perfect. I love to talk about mounds of hope as something that I've
Yeah.
manifested because
Yeah.
of my wife's death from cancer. Because of the nonprofit, I started working with hundreds of women with cancer, and we have created something very, very profound here for people to come here and heal, especially from cancer, but from
Right.
almost anything else. We have the physical, we have the mental, we have the emotional, we have the spiritual, and we got to get all four of those vibrating at the same frequency so that we can obtain ultimate health and mastery of what we're doing here. And when we can do that, then life just flows. I mean, I'll just tell it on the show, but
Please.
I I wanted to manifest $1 million for. It's not that I don't have it, but I didn't want to liquidate stuff, so I wanted to find $1 million. And I said, I go, okay, I could there, but I'm just going to manifest it. And lo and behold, someone came back into my life from 40 years ago that I didn't even know that well and provided me with that. So I even have to push myself, right? Because we
Right.
are limited, right? And then we have to continuously realize that. But I'm still shocked when these things happen to me. I mean, Joseph Murphy's book, and he wrote more than one, but The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. I mean, it's all right there. I mean,
It
that's
is.
all people. And he wrote that back in the 30s or 40s, I'm pretty sure, or 50s at the latest. So this what we're talking about. This is from the Bible. This is from times, this is the way the world works. I'm at Mountains of Hope right now. We got 20 acres and we plowed 2 acres where we grow over 75 different plants and vegetables. And
Amazing.
but when you plant a seed into the ground, you're going to reap something, right? When you plant an intention into the field of infinite possibilities, you're going to reap something. And so that's how this whole thing works. And we can reap negative shit as well. We plant negative
That's
shit into
it.
the field of infinite possibilities because Joseph Murphy tells us the subconscious mind doesn't judge. So it's going to give you whatever it thinks you want. So if I walk around all day and say my life sucks, nothing ever goes wrong, right? Then my subconscious is going to look for that data delivered to my conscious mind, and I'll just keep recreating the same bullshit.
That's
And
amazing.
that's where most people get stuck. And then they
That
become negative. They have an
yep.
event. They become a victim. They become bitter, and they die with their music still in them.
Oof. They die with their music still in them. When you absorb that statement, oof, I'm gonna have to steal that one from you. But here's the thing. Okay, so I told you I'm 49 and my event happened 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, that made me start exploring subconscious and who I really am. Not the Maurice who builds things and hustles and not that. The internal, the subconscious part and everything.
Yeah, you already said it. You had to go inside, and that's the
You had to
hardest
go
thing we have to do.
inside.
And
But
and,
but
and when and the way I'll illustrate that, and we should be recording this, frankly, but the way I'll illustrate that is we got to move from here, the insane asylum, back into our heart, who we truly are, and that's what going inside means. We get in touch with our feelings, with our heart, with our soul. Then we
yes.
can use the supercomputer to manifest what we want.
Okay, so the stuff that I did, if you were going to talk to me about the power of our imagination when I was in my 20s or 30s, I would have listened and it would have went in one ear and out the other because I wasn't ready to receive that.
Right.
I
Right.
don't blame. Now for folks who are listening, this is not a religious anything. It's not a religious conversation. It is we have the number one most powerful thing in the world which is our imagination. And I believe the world according to Maurice, I believe that source expresses itself through us, through our imagination. That's what I think is happening. That we are as powerful as
Without
the. Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
you just nailed it, Maurice, because I believe that there's a creator that I use the word God for. God has a bad reputation, but
Yep.
but it's but it, because of all the dogma and all the stuff that misleads people, right? But I believe that the creator, there's a little part of the creator in each and every one of us in our soul. And our soul is right here. Our
Right.
soul is eternal, timeless consciousness. Okay.
Right.
Religion has taken a beautiful concept and perverted it. Okay. So we
Yep.
have to get back to who we really are, which is we are a soul. We are eternal, timeless consciousness. I challenge you to check this guy out on YouTube, Darius J. Wright. And what he's
Okay.
teaching us how to do is to leave our body. We can take our soul and leave our body while we're sleeping. And he's teaching people how to do it. And it's so profound. I know I've been out of my body before after my wife died. So it resonates so deeply within me. So I know I'm not my body. My body is made up of 50 trillion individual living conscious cells. How do I know I'm not where's my 10-year-old body? Where's my 20-year-old body? Okay. Now I'm in a 67-year-old body, but I'm not my
Mm.
body. My body's made up of cells. And if you break that down, then you go into molecules, and then you go into atoms and particles of atoms. And at the end of the day, it's just energy. It's all
Yep.
energy.
Yep.
So the other thing is, I know I'm not my thoughts. because I get the craziest damn thoughts you could ever imagine, right? And I have to work really hard on controlling this. So if I'm not my body and I'm not my thoughts, who am I? I'm the
Yeah.
one that the witness to this. I'm the consciousness, I'm the awareness. But we get confused because my soul, my spirit is stuck in an animal body. We urinate, we fornicate, we defecate. So we live in an animal body, but we're not an animal. We're soul, we're spirit. We
We're
can act
soul.
like animals. If we're not conscious, we act like animals, and that's why you have murders and wars and all this other nonsense. Okay, but the truth of the matter is, we come from love, we come from singularity. We're now in duality. This world, this thing that we're in right now, whatever it is, okay, is made of duality. That's how they created the physical 3D reality. They had to have duality. What's that mean? You have to have good and evil. You have to have black and white. You have to have hot and cold. That's what holds us together, the duality of it all. But we came from singularity, which was pure love, pure
Yep.
unconditional love. And that's where we're going to return. The trick is to figure out this game that we're playing right now, get back into that connection to your soul and to your creator, to God, whoever you want to call that, whatever. There is a creator. I mean, you can't debate the fact that somebody created this or something created this. There's a
Something. Yeah. Yep.
and it can be a beautiful creation and it can be a hellish creation depending on what we think about it and what we feel about it. So that's what I talk a lot about is, when we write these beautiful intentions, we put them into the field. Well, we got to put a lot of feeling attached to them. So the more feeling
Yes.
of love and more feeling of giving back to the contribution to the humanity, then the faster we can manifest. Because talking about Dr. Joseph Murphy, it was all about the imagination, and
Yes.
and more importantly, the power of the subconscious mind. So just to get, you probably know this already, but just for your
Go for it.
audience, we
Yeah.
take in over 1 million bits of data every second. Let me say it again: 1 million bits of data every second. Now, the subconscious mind is processing all that, and then it picks out 40 bits of data that delivers to the conscious mind, because that's all the conscious mind can handle. They say we can't chew gum and walk at the same time. Well, the conscious mind is very limited. So this supercomputer, the subconscious mind, which I believe is connected to all subconscious minds, there's only one mind. I have a brain, but there's a difference between the brain and the mind. And I believe there's just one mind and we're all connected. That's why I can think about you one day and 5 minutes later you call me, because
Yep.
there's no separation. It's all energy. We're made up of atoms. Atoms are 99.999% space. So that energy is flowing throughout everything and everyone, right? And
That's
so
it.
that's why we have these experiences. But when you realize the power of the subconscious mind doesn't judge. So if I walk around and say, hey, I'm a loser, nothing ever goes right, I'm a victim, the subconscious is going to deliver to the conscious 40 bits of information that support that belief system. And it's all
That's right.
BS, belief system BS bullshit, right? So once we realize that, then we can start telling the subconscious mind. And that's what I love about the creation frequency. We put ourselves in a self-hypnotic trance, theta brainwave state, like when we were a child, which we
Right.
learn through absorbing. And then when the intentions flow into the subconscious mind, and then we're connected to all that is, then the right teacher, the right funding, the right idea, the right concept shows up, and we can flow with life instead of trying to self-will run riot and create a life that someone else programmed us for. We never
That's
really
it.
get in touch with who we really are and what we are. Many people become lawyers and doctors because that's what their parents
That's
wanted.
what
And
somebody else told them.
yes, yes. So you
That's
get
what
it.
somebody that's what somebody else told them. And so so when Dr. Joseph talks about when Dr. Murphy talks about you have an idea and you plant that seed in your subconscious, I thought about something. I did a review of my life. I've done this with my coaching students as well, but for the sake of privacy, I'm just going to talk about my own life. I did a review of my own life when I became a federal agent in 2002. I watched Jason Bourne in 2000, early 2001, and I said, I'm going to be a special agent on the Mediterranean at some point, like Jason Bourne. And it finally happened in
Wow.
2015. It doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow. It will happen in divine timing, but the seed was planted. So let me do you one better. When I was deployed and I got back from my initial deployment in 2004, I said, because I saw a patrol car in somebody's driveway, which was a take home car as a police officer, and I was like, I'd like to have a shiny police car in my driveway, and I want to serve my community. 5 years later, I graduated from police academy, and I had my own patrol car in my driveway. And lastly, when I started real estate back when I was 21 years old, and I'm aware of what happened to you when you were 24, so I'm going to ask you. But when I started
Yeah.
investing in real estate, I said, I'm going to invest in this real estate not to be rich, but to have enough passive income. Because when you have passive income, you are not obligated to physically be somewhere to make money, and what that does is create time. And if you have time, then you can have all the experiences in the world. And it took me 14 years. It took me 7 years to have enough passive income to cover my basic needs, 14 for more than work. And now I don't know, I've done like $250 million of real estate with other people. Okay, I say that example to people who are listening because I want to equate it back to, you have an idea. You have an idea. It's that thing that has been gnawing at people. It's probably your subconscious telling you what you're actually supposed to be, not what 20 to 30
Yeah.
years of formal education have told you you are supposed to
Yeah.
be. And people need to listen to that voice, because it's that voice that's going to drive the kind of life that you want. And I'm wondering what happened to you at age 20, or can you talk about what happened to you in 1982 when you met Doug?
Yeah, the mystery man. So when I wrote
Yeah.
my first book, Unfiltered 214, I couldn't remember his name. And that book, I didn't really tell the story properly. So that book wasn't successful. So in 2018, I wrote The Creation Frequency. And what was interesting, I needed to know who this guy was. So I hired a private detective to try to find him. And he passed away, and we found his son. And what I learned was so valuable to me, because I was just a dumb guy with a drinking problem, a drug problem, divorced with a 2-year-old, an eighth grade education, and no good habits, no good credit, but bad credit, no money. I was totally lost. And I'm in a 12-step program. And a friend of mine says, hey, I might know somebody that can help you, because I've never seen anybody as screwed up as you. And so he introduced me to Doug Fitzgerald. And in the first book, I call him Mystery Man, but I hired this private investigator, found his son. It turns out, okay, that he was studying Silva mind control. Now, I don't know if
Mm.
you're familiar with Mind Valley and Vision, but he gives a lot of credit to Silva mind control. So really what he taught me was and I'm a big follower of Dr. Joe Dispenza. I love his work. I love his
Yeah, Joe's
meditation.
great. Yeah.
And what Doug taught me was the very core of what Dr. Joe teaches, which is there's no difference between imagination and reality. And if you can get into the right state
That's
with the
it.
right feeling, you can manifest anything. So what he told me, I'll never forget. You got to understand, man, I'm a total loser. I have $100 car. It's a Ford Pinto, the ones that used to
The Pinto.
rear and blow up, and it had been
Yeah.
in an accident. So I couldn't even shut the driver door. I had to roll the window down, hold my arm outside the car to make it work. And I'm living in San Francisco Bay Area where it's freezing cold. And I meet this guy at his house in January. So I'm all disheveled. And he says this, he says, Mike, you come here 1 hour a week for 7 weeks, and I promise you'll get everything you want in your life. And the house wasn't that nice. The furniture wasn't that nice. His clothes were, but for some reason, something inside me said, hey, this is the right place to be. And he goes, by the way, it's $50 an hour. And I didn't have 50 cents, right? So fortunately, in those days, we could write bad checks and get a little float.
Yeah.
So that's what I
Yeah.
did. But here's what he told me. He said, Mike, first of all, you got to break your life into 6 different areas. You have family, you have career, you have finances, you have contribution, you have physical well-being, et cetera. So we're going to break your life into 6 areas. And then we're going to write a powerful intention each week of what it is you truly desire, as if it already exists, because there's no difference between a reality and imagination. He goes,
Yeah.
what do you want most in your life? Well, 2 years before this, I'd walked out on my 2-month-old baby daughter and her mom, my wife. And because I was a habitual runaway, and when things got tough, I would flee. And so I went and partied for a week, and then I call her up and say, I'm ready to come home. And she says, no, thank you. And so we ended up getting divorced. And that, it broke my heart, because I love my little
Mm.
daughter, and it changed my life. It was the first time I understood what real love was, when my daughter was born. And so I
Hmm.
couldn't stay off drugs. I couldn't stay off of cocaine or alcohol and cocaine. And my life was a mess. And I go, I want my wife and my daughter back. He goes, okay, we're going to write an intention as if it already exists. Now, I know this lady hates my guts, okay? And it wants nothing to do with me. And when I start writing on this kitchen table, Lisa and I are so happily married. Our daughter Michelle thrives in this marriage, right? And I write like 2 paragraphs. And as I'm writing, I go, this is total bullshit. And then all of a sudden, I got a little feeling of hope. I said, okay, maybe there's something here. So next week, what do you want, Mike? I want to make $10,000 a month. I never made more than 2,000. What do you want next, Mike? I want to own my own business. What do you want next, Mike? I want to own my own house. What do you want next? I want to run a marathon. He goes, week 6, it has to be contribution. So how do you want to pay it forward? I go, I want to create a home for troubled youth because I was a troubled youth. My dad was troubled youth. So what happens? And week 7 is the magic. Now this is 1982. So he brings out a boom box, which we used to listen to music
Yeah,
on.
I know. I remember. Yeah.
And he puts in a cassette tape with theta brainwave music. Then he hands me a 2-page relaxation script. Very simple stuff. You tighten your muscles, you release them. And what I didn't know at the time, but what he was doing, he was getting me into a self-hypnotic theta brainwave trance. So he
Yes.
starts playing the music. He hands me a microphone attached to a tape recorder. He puts in a blank cassette. He says, I want you to read the relaxation script while I play the music, and then I want you to read your 6 intentions. And so I do it. So he pops open the cassette, he hands it to me, he says, now listen, every morning, right when you wake up, I want you to listen to this. Now, no explanation why. I'm just hopeless guy following the simple directions. And every night before you go to sleep, I want you to listen to this. And so lo and behold, I know now what he was doing. Okay. One, we have to understand the power of sound. So the Bible says that God spoke this world into existence. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I know we do a lot of sound healing here at Mountains of Hope. And so
Yeah.
I know the power of sound. I know what when I speak something, I can speak it into existence, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so the power of sound. So what he was doing, so every morning I'm listening to these in six intentions. So I'm activating my reticular activating system. So it's on looking for this. I'm
That's
telling
right.
the 50 cells of my body what we're going to do, what we're looking for. More importantly, I'm getting into my subconscious mind, which is connected to all these other subconscious minds. And within 4 months, I own my own restaurant. 2 years later, my ex-wife calls me up and asks me out on a date. We get remarried, have 3 more beautiful children. I become very, very wealthy. I become a successful automobile dealer in the San Francisco Bay Area with an 8th grade education, starting as a salesman, because this is the way the world works. So I manifest this restaurant in 4 months. Then I sell it after a year. I start selling cars. I tell my office mate, hey, I'm going to have my own dealership pretty soon. He looks at me like I'm crazy. I'm a 26-year-old kid. And within 6 years of that, I have my own car dealership. Because when we plant the seed, I talked about our garden earlier that we have here, but when you plant a seed of intention into the field of infinite possibilities and you can stay true to it and you can draw it back with the magnet of your heart, then this is how it works. The problem is, Maurice, is
Yep.
most people give up after a very short, I tried the law of attraction, it didn't work. I tried this, it doesn't work. But you said something earlier that is so powerful. For example, let's say that I'm trying to manifest a brand new car. I need a car. And so these people, for some reason, think that they're going to wake up one day and there's going to be a brand new car in their driveway.
No.
No, what you're going to manifest is the idea or the plan to get that car in your driveway. So
Yes.
you have to
Yes.
do some work. The one of the best books ever written is called Think and Grow Rich. But I
Yep.
hate the title because you got to get off your butt and get off the couch and you got to go do something too. You can't just sit there and think all day. Now, that's where it starts, but then you got to get the plan. And the plan will come from your creator if you're open and willing. And I say, don't get locked into things. If you're ever trying to manifest a spouse, for example, or a significant other, you want to be as specific as possible. You can go color hair, color complexion, whatever, education, blah, 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 but no attachment to the outcome because you're
That's it. You got to let the
co-creating.
outcome go.
You're co-creating with the creator of all, and so that's why it's important. Be specific, but then be flexible. And I like to look at the analogy that I just jump into the river of life and I don't try to swim upstream and I just let it take me where it's supposed to take me and get rid of the resistance because whatever we resist is going to persist. Let go, trust God, and just let it unfold. That's called
Just
being in the flow of life.
it's allowing. And I got this. I think I used to listen to Abraham Hicks a bit, and she would
Yeah.
talk about, we're all swimming upstream, right? We're all efforting. We are all fighting the system. We are all, I'm gonna hustle. And when you get
Yeah.
to the point in life where you've seen certain things, experienced certain things, and meet people like yourself, you start to understand that the better way to do it is just drop the oar. Let the
Amen.
stream of life float with you where you need to go. It will guide you over time.
You just got to have faith. And so, Maurice, there's a great book called The Surrender Experience. And this was a guy, he just wanted to go into the Everglades and meditate and build a house and live a simple life. But he said, I'm going to say yes to whatever shows up. So somebody shows up and say, hey, I love your house. Can you build me one? Yes. And then he goes into town one day. He goes into, this is like 1980. He goes into a
Yeah,
radio shack. What is this? That's called a computer. Do you want one? Yes. So he ends up becoming a billionaire as a computer programmer. But the point is, he just let go and he said yes to everything. So I try to do that as well. I try to say yes to experiences, especially ones that might have a little fear around them, and say yes, yes, yes. And I've been living that. I read that book maybe 10, 12 years ago, and I've been really saying yes to life a lot. And it's interesting how it just takes you to where you want to go, the right people, the right ideas, the right concepts. Now, with that said, I don't
mm,
want to mislead anybody. Life is still difficult.
it's
Children
hard.
are still
Yep.
born with autism. Young people still get cancer and die. Okay, life is different. There's a great book called The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck. The opening line is life is difficult. So we have to realize that. But it's okay that life is difficult. It's how we respond to the difficulties of life.
It's your response.
Exactly. So we get to choose, is that a good thing or a bad thing? And the truth of the matter is, what appears bad sometimes, we were talking earlier about how you can look back on your life and see things, right? And make sense how all this happened. And Steve Jobs gave a commencement speech at Stanford, I think 2005. And he says, only by looking back on our life, we can connect the dots, say, oh, now I see why
Yes.
that now
Yes.
I see why that happened. And so that's so important that we have that perspective, but that we have to trust that we're here for a reason and a purpose, and keep looking for that purpose. And it will change. It evolves too. When I was a young person, I had to raise a family. So that was my purpose. Then my kids are grown. Now I have to just be a grandfather, which is much easier. It gives me time to manifest things to help people that are struggling. And that's kind of my mission, is through the experience that life has brought to me. I've realized that we need a more natural way to heal ourselves. And we have to heal ourselves not only physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually to be whole and complete. So that's kind of where my life is now.
Absolutely. And I want to ask you about your treat. I want to ask you about Colombia, but I want to go back to one point. It is hard. So I want to be clear with people. I am people know me, but I just want to say it to you in front of my audience. I am a
Okay.
very practical person. I don't blame people for anything because we have all gone through 20 to 30 to 40 years of programming. It is very
Sure.
hard to unlearn. It is very hard to unlearn that we are supposed to go work for Google. Or when I started declining promotions in corporate, nobody could understand why I was doing it. They didn't realize that I was protecting time to go invest and planting other seeds in my life. But I want to
Yeah.
so I don't blame people, and you can't just jump into these kinds of concepts and immediately understand them. It takes time. But what I do want to give
Yes.
people as a resource, if you go to trylifeon.com, you go to newsletter 21, I wrote, before I read the Joseph Murphy book, I wrote a newsletter that said the skill that most people lack. And the skill that most people lack is systematic patience. And
Yes.
that's what you got from me about, and I'm gonna explain the word systematic, but that's what you got from me when I said, hey, I'm gonna be a special agent because I saw Jason Bourne, and then 14 years later, I ran a field office on the Mediterranean Sea like a Jason Bourne, which in Turkey, which is nuts. The word systematic, when you have an idea, find a system to execute it in. And all I did
Yeah.
was find in the Air Force when I was in there was a program called IMA. It meant that I could kind of be a reservist, but kind of not, da da da. I just stayed with it. I had faith in that particular system. And I said, I don't know how long this is going to take. I don't even know where it's going to take me. Where it ended up taking me was me being a federal agent for 22 years. It's you and I can talk about the concepts of the thought dropping into the subconscious, uh, us not controlling our outer world. We can't control circumstances. We can only control ourselves. You and I get that. But for people who are listening, it's hard, man, because they just most people have not gone through what you went through or what I went through 3 years ago or what I was instinctively feeling at age 21 when I'm like, I'm not doing this status quo bullshit life thing. I just could not do it. So I wanted to give people a resource, newsletter 21, systematic patience. That's what I followed. But now I understand what was really happening. So I want to give that resource. But it sounds like with your retreat in Colombia and your own life and the amazing inspiration that your wife gave you, you're helping a lot of people. So can you just talk through what that is and how you're helping people?
Yeah. And before I do, I just want to hit on one more point
Yeah,
that you brought
please.
up for your audience. So I don't know if you can see this picture here. Can you see that?
Yes, I can. Yeah. It's a
Okay.
baby
So
of some sort.
that's me in 1957,
My
sitting
man.
sitting on my parents' couch with a bottle of Schlitz beer and a cigarette hanging out of my mouth.
That's
And
it.
my mother wrote "Learning Young," just like mommy and daddy. So I was programmed to smoke. I was programmed to drink. That was in my baby book. So I saw it all
Oh
the
my
time.
God. I see what you mean.
Okay.
Right. That was your programming.
That was my programming. And that's what I became. Okay. And I still have to deal with uncoupling some of that programming, especially around sports and betting. My dad, we always had these big betting parties and stuff. So all this stuff, right? But my point is this: we've all been victims. We've all had one parent or both that were dysfunctional at times. We've all
Yeah.
had terrible trauma, especially as an adolescent. We get hurt, we get our feelings hurt because we're these sensitive little babies, right? We come in and we're perfect. And then we finally learn how to stand up. We knock something off the table, the coffee table, we spill something, and God, mommy or daddy yells at us. Okay. We freak out. So we all have these traumas, right? And so, but the real truth of this, Maurice, is that we're either all victims or none of us are victims.
Yeah.
And the biggest
Yeah.
problem I see in the world today is everybody wants to be a victim. And the truth is, we're not victims. They want to program us to be victims through divide and conquer. That's why we
Yes,
have all this
absolutely.
bullshit, right? But
They
the
want
truth is,
drones.
yes. And the truth is, we're powerful creators. So I really want to encourage your audience to realize that. Now, here's the trick to that. When I say I'm a powerful creator my whole life, I need to take responsibility for everything that's happened in my life. Okay.
Good and bad. Good and
Good
bad.
and bad. You know,
Yeah.
I went through this terrible experience with my wife for 9 years with breast cancer, right? But she never once was a victim. And she taught me so much. She said to me 500 times, Mike, you need to learn to be vulnerable. I go, what are you talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about, until she died. And then I understand what vulnerability was, because I was totally lost. And I had no resistance to fight back. I was so devastated with grief. It was if God could come in, finally fillet open my heart, take out all the arrogance, the BS, the self-centeredness, and replace it with love. And so that's how I've been operating my life. I was really, really brokenhearted, full of love. And
Yeah.
so that was a whole nother experience I had to deal with, because I wasn't grounded to Mother Earth anymore. So I really got crazy. But once I grounded back to Mother Earth and I said, okay, this is my legacy, this is my purpose, to help people with cancer, then everything started changing. But the truth is that, my dad was a victim all the way up, because he got really hurt as a child, became a ward of the state of California, juvenile hall, and he hadn't done anything wrong. He was born to two alcoholic parents. So, but I grew up with a father as a victim and a mother as a saint. So there's a lot of duality and
Oh,
up and
yeah.
down
Yeah.
stuff in that, right? But the last hour of my dad's life, a few years ago, I was finally able to, I didn't even know if he was awake or not, conscious or not. He was dying. And I just went into his room, put a chair right next to his bed, didn't know if he could hear me or not, and just started pouring my heart and love and soul into this man, even though he's a very difficult father, very successful, and then a Skid Row alcoholic. But I just kept saying how much I love you, how proud I am, how you're going home, how you're going to be with mom. And all of a sudden, after about 20 minutes of this, his right eye opened, which closed, it's just tears. And finally, he was accessing his heart, which I'd never known him as a
He
heart-based
couldn't do
person.
it. Yep. Yep.
He couldn't do it. He couldn't go there. And I said to him, after I wrote my first book, I said, Dad, let's write your story. No, he couldn't. He can't go. He couldn't revisit his past. But more importantly, we're all going to have to move from here to here at some point. It's
Yep.
the hardest, longest journey, and it's only 18 inches. But why wait till that last breath?
You mean
Why wait till
from
that
the mind to the heart, right?
from the head to the heart? In
Yep.
the head, you're dead, and in the heart, you're whole. And so this is, but we get hurt, we get hurt, so we build walls around it. And we start living here. This is a scary place to live. Now, once I live from here, this is a great supercomputer, which will help me manifest the life of my dreams. But I got to get back and I got to clean this up. We
Yep.
all got trauma. We all been hurt. So no one's different than anybody else. We've all gone through something. Okay. And it's all relative. But when we start shining light on this trauma, we start going back into those memories and reliving them and erasing them from our consciousness, then we become free. And the freer we become, the more we can help others to become free. And that's what the world needs right now. There's 8 billion of us allegedly here. And if 4 billion of us would lift up someone less fortunate
Oh
than us,
man.
this whole paradigm would shift and we'd have heaven back on earth again. So this is what I'm excited for the future. I used to kind of be concerned about the future because it's falling apart, right? All these constructs that we thought were infallible were now, it was like the Wizard of Oz. We now look behind the curtain and we say, okay, we see what's going
Yep.
on. But
Yep.
but that's good because what's going to happen after this, we're going to have an opportunity to usher heaven back on the earth through love and service to one another and unity and responsibility and integrity. And that's what I'm excited about.
And I believe you because there are people like you and what I am trying to do for my own community through Try Life On, or what I do a lot of other things as well. But there are people who are trying to uplift people all the time as purpose or as instinctive behavior. The challenge
Yeah.
is, and this is why we get to controlling environment and what I do, which is called a mental diet. The challenge is there's so much information out there in the physical world, so much negativity, the news trying to give us anxiety all the time, and people key into that information. And if that information, your external world is a function of your internal thoughts, so if that information is constantly bombarding your brain, then of course we're at war with 30 people. Of course
Yeah.
the world is going to hell in a handbasket. No, but that's what your reticular activating system is picking up because that's all you're hearing. But if you take a step
Right.
back and
Right.
you block all that bullshit out and you realize that there are the Mikes out there, the Maurices out there, and many of the other people that I've interviewed on the podcast, there's so much good in this world. People are struggling to see it. They are just struggling. They're
Yeah.
struggling. And I know you're helping people see it down at your retreat. So tell me about your retreat just as we kind of wrap up.
So I'm looking, I wish you could see this, but we're 7,000 feet in the Andes Mountains, surrounded by the most beautiful nature you could ever imagine. So while you were talking about that, I'm saying, amen, amen, amen. Plus, we got God's nature. We need to go back into
Go
nature,
back to it.
get
Yep.
throw these things over here for a while and go and just sit in nature and meditate and be grateful for what God has given us and get back to the basics. And so you talked earlier about going inside. Well, here's what we do here. I'm going to talk
Yeah.
about our cancer protocol for one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically it's a 4-week protocol. And then day one, when you get here, we take tons of your blood. Okay. And we have a partnership with the National University of Columbia, and they take your blood and they separate the plasma from the natural killer cells. They're called NK cells, and they could be white cells, T cells. It's the cells in the immune system that attack cancer, parasites, bacteria, anything that's foreign to the body, doesn't belong to the body, is not helping the body heal. These T cells go after them, right? And so for 3 weeks, they take your T cells and they grow your T cells, and they get a 400% increase in your T cells. No. So what we're doing for 3 weeks is we're detoxing your body. We're with massages. We have infrared saunas. We have cold plunges. We have hyperbaric chamber, IVs with methylene blue. We have a sweat lodge ceremony. We have a cacao ceremony. We have a fire ceremony. So we bring indigenous medicine, Western medicine. We bring it in all these protocols. We have all these biohacking things from PEMF to heat to red light
Yep.
therapy to salt therapy. So we're detoxing the body. At the same time, we grow our own food in virgin soil that's rich in minerals, hasn't been depleted. There's no chemicals, there's no glyphosate. So we're detoxing the body. We're putting in good body or good nutrition. Then we're gently nudging you from here back into here through our ceremonies, and then having to reacquaint with ourselves, reconnect to our soul, and realize who we are and how powerful we are. Then 3 weeks later, we put 400% more T cells into your body. I just had this done. It blew my mind. So we also have stem cells. Like, so I was doing stem cells every other month or something, and it's
Yeah.
somewhat
Yeah.
subjective. I was doing it for anti-aging, so I just do an IV. I didn't have it injected into my joints or anything, but I would feel a little better. But I had these natural killer cells. I had so many things improve in my body because not only do they gobble up cancer cells, and we all have cancer cells, it's the weak immune system that leads to a tumor, right? So we keep the immune system strong, we're never going to have a problem. But what happened is it gobbles up parasites, and I knew I had parasites in my body. We all do. Well, I knew I had viruses that shouldn't be there and bad bacteria. So my digestion tract, all that got cleaned up. I mean, my energy increased, my ability to sleep better. So these natural killer cells that we all have are so powerful, but when we can grow them and put them back in, we're having huge success. I'll tell you real quick, one client that we had here,
Yeah.
he was here, he's probably been gone now for 2 months. He came here stage 4, a rare non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, right? His blood platelets were like around 7 and they should be around 12. And he could barely walk around here. He's probably mid-50s. When he left, he did the natural killer cells twice. When he left, his blood platelets were up to about 11. And now
Wow.
he just texted me yesterday, they're 12.8. He's gained all his weight back and he's on the mend. So this is what we're excited about doing this. And we do have stem cells and exosomes for people that have injuries in their joints or anti-aging or stuff like that. But I'm so super excited about, the body wants to heal itself. We just got to
It
put it in the
does.
right environment. And so we got to detox it. We got to give it good nutrition. We can't discount the power of the mind and the placebo effect of the mind.
Of course.
If you have a bad thought, the pituitary gland makes bad chemicals that go into the body, adrenaline, cortisol, and stuff like this, right? So bad thought, bad feeling, bad state. So what do we want? Nobody wants to be in a bad state. So we drink, we gamble, we promiscuity, whatever to get out of this state, right? Because we're not conscious. When we're conscious about what's going on, no, screw this thought. We get rid of it. Good thoughts, good chemicals, feel good, do good. I love Deion Sanders, right? Look good, do good, feel good, they pay good.
Yeah. My God.
So that's where that's at. So that's what Mounds of Hope is. It's a very small, intimate. We only have 12 bedrooms.
Amazing.
We have the amazing, beautiful nature. The weather. We're close to the equator, so we have 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of nighttime, 365 days a year. The temperature is 55 to 75 degrees all year long. So you're welcome here as my guest anytime you can make it down here. I'd love to
Man,
have you come.
I not only do I love that invitation, I feel honored by it. And interestingly, okay, we didn't say the law of attraction, but I do believe that universe will bring people together. Like I'm able to speak to you about these things, but if we met even 9 months ago, I can't speak at this level the way that you've been doing this for decades, right? I can at least keep up with what you're saying. So I think it brought us together for a particular reason. Just as a last parting question, what would you say to folks who are listening who they want to shift their life, they want to move to another country, they want to generate wealth,
Yeah,
they want to do
yeah.
something different with their spouse? What would you tell them in terms of trying life on? One thing.
Well, of course, I'm going to suggest my process of the creation for frequency. It's you can figure it all out for free. If the book's like $10, I have an online course. I think it's $200. I'll make it for your audience. I'll gift it to them if they send me an email, Mike@mountainsofhope.com. That's Mike at
Okay.
mountainsofhope.com. Send me an email. Say, hey, I saw you on Maurice's show. I'd like to get your online course for free. We'll send them the course for free. It was filmed actually here at Mountains of Hope maybe 6 or 7 years ago. But
Yeah.
it really explains what I'm talking about here with real scientific proof of why it works. And
Wow.
so as you probably know, Tesla said it, if you want to understand the universe, you have to understand energy, vibration, and frequency. That's all that's going on here. We're vibrating at a certain frequency. The higher the frequency, love being the highest, okay, but shame being one of the lowest. People are vibrating these frequencies. And so if you're vibrating the level of shame, you're just going to keep getting those kind of people into your life. If you're guilt, regret, whatever, you have to elevate your emotions. Your thoughts and your emotions create your reality. And so when I can have really strong, powerful thoughts and self-esteem and be able to look in the mirror and say, I love you and be sincere,
Yeah.
and my heart is pure and I have no agenda but to love and to serve others, then I'm going to vibrate that frequency and all these people show up into my life. So we have to understand that. One tip I'll give for people that want to just start somewhere that's real simple
Yeah.
is I did this so many years. I get up early morning before the wife and the kids woke up, and I had a journal, and I simply put the day and the date and the time and where I was, and then I would say thank you. I say thank you, Heavenly Father. Give me I'm grateful for my wife, my kids, my family, my health, my life, whatever it is. Start with an attitude of gratitude. Start every day in an
Attitude
attitude of
of
gratitude.
gratitude. Yep.
But here's where the magic was, Maurice. I say, now, please give me wisdom on the following. What should I do with this child that's experienced this? What should I do
Ah,
about the decision I have to do at work? What should I do? And I did this for 20 years. I can go back through my journals and I show you miracle after miracle after miracle. And the truth is, 90% of the time, all this stuff I'm asking for wisdom, it just took care of itself. But I would get great insights. Should I buy this business? And then something would happen because I'm asking for help. There's right here in this field of it, we just can't see it. We live in the
it's
spectrum of
here.
light, right? But right here, we have guides, we have angels, we have ancestors, we have help right here. Okay, we just got to learn to ask. The Bible says, ask and it shall be given unto you. So we have to realize that, but we get so brainwashed to believe such nonsense in the world that we get lost. And I was lost, we all get lost, and then when we find ourselves, we need to try to help other people find themselves. So that, and then I'll end that journaling with love. Thank you. I love you. And that's it. So we have gratitude, wisdom, and love, and realize that there's real help there. Even though you can't see it, it's there.
It
And
is
as you
there.
said, I love what you said at the very beginning of this. You had to go inside. We have
Yep.
these two eyes that are always looking out. The truth is, we need to close them, breathe through our nose, get nice and calm and relaxed, get in touch with our heart, and just ask the Creator, what is it? Why am I here? And keep asking. Keep asking, and the answers will come.
And I tell people, listen, for some people, it's tough to say the word God. For some people, I don't believe in things out there. That's fine. Then just get into a relationship with yourself, and
Yes.
the universe will take care of it from there. You don't have to put
Yes.
words around any of this stuff whatsoever. My father,
Right.
last point, my father is a very religious man, and I'm very grateful to him. Very, anytime I say my father, I get chills because what he did to raise me was fantastic. But he's very religious.
Mm.
And when he used to tell me as a kid, knucklehead, inner city Boston kid growing up, Haitian immigrant kid, he would always tell me some of the things that you are talking about now, and I would always brush them off because my eyes were always interested in seeing the Nike sneakers at the store, the girl I was trying to ask
Right.
out, the fact that I wanted to play for the NFL. Now, here's the thing. When over the last 10 years, I started to see things and started talking to my dad. And my dad told me the same things that he told me when I was a kid. And then I started to understand. And my journey has been so complete. I talk with him now and he says, "Ah, you finally understand." That really, I mean, it got under my skin. I'm not religious like my father, but I am a believer. And you clearly are too, man. And I'm very happy I ran into your path today. I'm sure my listeners are as well. Where can people find you to learn more? And I got the email address, Mike at, tell me.
Mike Murphy, Mike at Mounds of Hope,
Yes,
moundsofhope.com.
Mike at mountainsofhope.com. I'll put that in the show notes. But where can I find you online to learn more?
So my website, personal website is mikemurphyunfiltered.com. And
Yep.
that has my books and all that kind of stuff. My passion project, my latest book was a memoir for my wife, came out in 2021. That's in livingincolor.co. That's just
Okay.
just go there to be uplifted by an amazing angel that touched my life. And then of
Gotcha.
course our wellness resort here, if you know someone dealing with a serious disease or suffering from something, go to mountainsofhope.com, schedule a free consultation with one of our doctors. And if we can help you, we want to help you. And it's not that expensive. We're in Medellin, Colombia, so it's much cheaper to do things what we do here. So it's affordable. And more importantly, it's very effective for becoming the best version of yourself and getting truly healthy in every aspect
Yeah.
of your life.
And even more important, we have this one life, average 28,000 days in a lifetime. I'm 49 now, so I'm somewhere around 13,000 and some change left. Like, live your life as best you can. Try life on. Thank you, Mike, for coming on the show, man. And I will definitely be in touch.
Thank you, Maurice.
Yep. Hey guys, this is Maurice, host of the Try Life On podcast, and thank you for listening to another episode. I hope you are finding it useful and helping you design your own lifestyle that you don't need a vacation from. If that's the case, please consider dropping a review for me, whether in Apple, iTunes, or in Spotify. Drop a review, put some stars on it. Give me some feedback on how I can make the podcast better, what information you are looking for. I am doing my best to get information to you on the Try Life On principles, the 5 freedoms, how to build lifestyle, travel hacking, all of it. And I want to do it for you. So please do a review for me. And until next time, my name is Maurice Philogene, and this is the Try Life On podcast. Peace.